for people that may be listening who are just getting into, trying to learn an instrument, or they're starting to evolve their craft a little bit, what has music done kind of overall for you throughout your life? Like, what is it kind of meant to you? What has it been for you?
Well, the first thing that came to mind when you said that was, when I was growing up, the term introvert wasn't a term that anybody ever mentioned. And I really, people mistake what an introvert is and how that works. Music provided a platform for me to communicate with people when I always felt a little bit different, a little bit odd. And whether that's because of my nature or where I grew up or the time or whatever, it created a common ground between people that were a little bit common-minded. But then I also found that I used to think, okay, well, the only friends I'll ever have are musicians. And then I found out, no, it's people that connect to that kind of art or immediate draws for me in terms of conversation. And the older I get, the thing I realize is that we don't even have to love the same kind of music. When you come across somebody that has a passion for that, while I may not like that genre, when I see somebody that excited about it, it's inspiring to me.
Yeah.
And so, you mentioned kind of the difference between writing material and doing an all original thing and playing covers. The conversations come up before, do you get tired of playing some of the same covers? Well, I'd be lying if I told you there's some songs that I really hope I never play again, but I'll still play
and sometimes those are cool when they start out, and that's unfortunate when that happens.
That's very true.
I hate it.
It's a burnout thing, and it's like you just can't get back to that song.
Yeah, and you're just like, it used to be so good.
It used to be great, and what happened to it? But the thing about it is, ultimately, when you're playing for people or when you produce a product and you see somebody get joy out of that, I can't tell you that's always my driving factor. Otherwise, I wouldn't make music or money doing music. But when you're playing covers and maybe it's a cover you don't like and you look out and the crowd responds to it, I'll give you my example: "Blistered in the Sun" by Violent Femmes.
Yes.
I hate that song so bad.
I know,
I hate it
too.
But the minute that you start playing it, the room erupts. It works every time.
Every time.
And it always proves me wrong. I think it's a horrible song, but
it is.
Hey man, people love it, so it's.
But it's great for it's a song for a moment.
That's exactly right. And this is what I always tell myself in those songs, dude, it's only 3.5 minutes. You'll live. But it's you see people communicating on a level that doesn't really require verbalization.
Yes.
You don't have to have a conversation. You just see people enjoying the same thing. And as corny as that may sound, to me, that's been my inspiration. I don't play music for anybody else. But being a musician that plays in front of people like in a cover band, it's always a better night when people are having a great time. But I only do this for me. I mean, I don't expect anybody to like what I like. I don't expect anybody to like what I play. I'm just glad that I get to do it. I think if you can find joy in your craft, whether it's sitting in your room playing for yourself or 2 people or 100 people, if you can find that happiness that gives you, it's the same thing as when you hear those songs the first time. You go, oh my gosh, what is that?
Yeah.
Playing for yourself is where it has to start. If you lose that, whether it's you're in a band that you don't like, you're in a band with people you don't get along with, you're going to lose that. And it's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
Because you will totally dread it, worse than any job. Because you've inverted a creative, happy process. You flipped it around to where it's a negative of itself. And that's what you have to avoid. If you want to go make money and do that, I know people that do that and you're comfortable with that, that's fine, but know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have to be inspired for it to make sense.
Yeah. I think that's great words of wisdom for people out there, because you have to, I completely agree that at the end of the day, and this transcends music too. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to focus on what you derive joy out of doing and do it for that reason, and then everything else will probably fall into place. But
True.
But I really like that what you said about the non-verbal way that people communicate when you are up there and you play this. It might be a cover that you don't like. Maybe it is a cover that you like. I mean, either way, Give It Away was one of those for us. I do like that song. It's good for what it is. It's fun,
Sure.
you know. It was just so much fun to play because the crowd always
The reaction.
liked it. And by virtue of that, we had a good time. So
Right.
they then were like feeding us in our energy. And there's a weird kind of, I think you touched on this a minute ago, this weird symbiotic kind of relationship between you had like, right, the old saying, does a tree make a sound if it falls in the woods? Right. It's the same thing. It's kind of like, yeah, you're playing the music for you, but when you see it affect these people and you're not telling them anything, you're not explaining anything, you're not giving a presentation, you're not trying to make a point. It's a very odd way to communicate, but that's communication. If you can all of a sudden start to play something and then you see, 100 people all of a sudden lift their heads up, like, gophers out of a hole, like, oh yes. Yeah. And they start to move. It's an interesting communal kind of tribal, I think, thing that goes way, way back into, and we'll have some episodes on this. I'd love to have your take on it because Christian and I have a lot of these discussions about going back to those ancient roots and what that music did.
It started
for people.
Somewhere that way.
Yeah, and I think that's why, because it's such a natural. It is the language of the universe. Like mathematics, yes, is, but what is music but mathematics? I mean, it's true. It's all math. That's the universe uses music in that way to kind of communicate the ethereal, the emotions, the things that aren't the hard science. That's where music fills that void, where you're not going to get an answer to this, but here's this, and hopefully you'll feel better. You know what I mean?
That's exactly. Well, it's proof. It's not an answer. It's just proof.
Yeah,
it's just you have it in front of you. Validation. It's another conversation for another time. But one of the things I've struggled with all my life, and it goes back into a lot of different areas, is time. Yeah, and music to me is the closest thing I get to freezing time.
Speaking of music helping to freeze time, this reminds me of an Alan Watts quote. Life is like music for its own sake. We are living in an eternal now. And when we listen to music, we are not listening to the past. We're not listening to the future. We are listening to an expanded present. Alan Watts was a British-born philosopher responsible for bringing the ideas of Buddhism, Taoism, and Hinduism to a Western audience in the 50s and 60s, and has had a resurgence in modern times as we have grown disillusioned with this empty electronic age and have begun to search for the deeper meaning of life once again. His charismatic and insightful talks are largely responsible for my own journey from a dark, desolate place to one of compassion and patience. Now back to the expanded present. Music allows us to live in the moment, as we should in our everyday life. We put all of our emphasis on a goal, that wonderful prize at the end of a journey, instead of the journey being the prize itself.
Because music, as an art form, is essentially playful. We say you play the piano. You don't work the piano. Why? Music differs from, say, travel. When you travel, you are trying to get somewhere. And of course, because being a very compulsive and purposive culture, are busy getting everywhere faster and faster and faster till we eliminate the distance between places. What happens as a result of that is that the two ends of your journey become the same place. So you eliminate the distance, you eliminate the journey. Because the fun of the journey is to travel. In music, one doesn't make the end of a composition the point of the composition. If that were so, the best conductors would be those who played fastest. And there would be composers who wrote only finales. People go to a concert just to hear one crashing chord, because that's the end. Same way in dancing. You don't aim at a particular spot in the room. That's where you should arrive. The whole point of the dancing is the dance.
Whether playing it or listening to it, when you have that moment in the car or at home and you hear that song, I could give you a list of songs that the minute that I hear them, I'm lost for, I may be thinking about doing something, or I may be at work. I still go through the motions, but for a moment, my brain stops and it rests.
Yeah.
But it's awake when it's resting. It's a fantastic feeling, and I think that what you just described is like a physical version of that, to where everything almost like coincides in that room. The energy in that room kind of works together, and it's
almost like by playing it, you're helping mold that energy into something that works together for
almost like you have a little bit of control over it.
Yeah. I mean,
you don't, but it feels like it.
Well, and you kind of do in a sense. I mean, it's just like anything else. A charismatic speaker, or if you look at Hitler, the reason why people got so wrapped up in it is because he was a damn good speaker.
That's true. That's true. He had control over people, and by the words he used and the emotions that he stirred up. For sure.
And if you can touch those things, which music does, I mean, it's back in the old battlefield, they had the drum lines going with it. Why? Because you can, number one, intimidate them, but also it gets your guys pumped up to get ready to fight.
That's exactly right.
It's just really interesting, man. So this has been awesome. It's been an awesome conversation. Listen, man, it's been great having you on today.
Man, thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have you on many more times. You'll be kind of in the inner circle.
There is no inner circle.
Glad to be here. Yeah,
love having conversations, and you and I need to get together more anyway. So we might as well get together and have some fun conversations.
We can do this anytime you want to do it. Just let me know.
Most definitely.
Oh, there's an inner circle. Oh, yeah.
You guys out there listening, we definitely appreciate you tuning in. You can find us, again, remember that our YouTube channel is at Boombox Music Talk. So a lot of the bands and songs that we referred to on today's episode with Stacy, it's a good resource. Plus, it's just got some damn good music on it. So definitely tune in there and subscribe to at Boombox Music Talk on YouTube. As far as the rest of the social media goes, you can follow us on Twitter at Boombox Talk, and across everything else at Boombox Music Talk as well. So definitely follow us there. We'll let you know what's going on. We'll let you know when Stacy's going to be back in the studio. Once again, my friend, I appreciate you being here and look forward to it next time.
Me too. Thanks so much.
This has been a Wizard Studios production.
This is exactly what I look like when I jam out, man. When I jam with my bass. Slap at the bass, man. Slapping the bass, man. Slap at that bass, man. I slap at the bass.
Please don't do that.
Slap at the bass.
Please.
Slap at the bass.
For the sake of our relationship.
Slap at the bass.
Stop. Please stop.
I'm slapping the bass.